Hi, I'm Naomi Perez, and I'm with the Atlanta Business Journal, and today we'll be sitting down with the president of TechLatino, Jose Marquez himself.
Naomi, thank you for coming to my
You're welcome.
office. I appreciate you coming all the way up to north side of Atlanta.
It's a pleasure to sit with you today.
Thank you.
Part of my visit today, I want to know a little bit more about TechLatino. Can you let us know, what is TechLatino?
Well, TechLatino is it's a movement of Latino technology professionals across the country. We have been doing this now for over 22 years. We are an organization of Latino techs, but not only Latino techs, but we're there for the African American community, and we're there for anybody who feels they need to get up to date when it comes to technology. So we help in many things. We do coding, we do STEM all around, especially making sure that web development, because we got an opportunity here. Technology is a great equalizer, right? Where you can start a business in your garage,
Right,
and come up and become Amazon,
right.
because that's the story of Amazon. Amazon started in someone's garage, and it grew to be this behemoth where everything is Amazon now. So that's what we hope, that more and more people use technology for their empowerment, whether it's small business or they want to become a big business. We've seen companies go from 4 guys in a little room to 400 men in an office, men and women, which becoming the top GSA vendor for the government. Which basically, we've got a member of our organization that's done the transfer of technology for Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump.
You got some great peoples under your belt. That's really good.
Yeah. We've been very lucky.
So out of these 22 years, what has TechLatino offered these communities, and what you guys, TechLatino itself, has improved within the time frame?
Well, what we've shown is that we need to make sure that the next generation is ready to take over those next jobs. The Hispanic community is the knight in shining armor for United States of America. We can pay taxes just like everybody. We can have big business just like anybody else. We can do anything our mind gets set to, as long as you have the right technology to do it with.
That's great. That's good. Jose, what would you say that you have seen as grow with TechLatino within the 22 years of your experience?
Well, these 22 years have shown me a lot. I mean, we started as an organization we started off as a networking organization. We didn't have, 20 years ago, we didn't have any BRGs or any of those corporate organizations. So when a person would leave or get fired or laid off or whatever, he would lose his whole network.
Right.
So say you work with Verizon and you were part of HSO, Hispanic Support Organization, if you left, you couldn't network with those people anymore. So everybody that left would fall through the cracks. We saw an opportunity because, networking was very important for us to grow our businesses, because we're all independent business owners. Right. Whether you work for a corporation or you work for yourself, you need to think like a CEO of your company and your brand. So basically, those people were literally left out in the dark. So we thought that it'd be a great opportunity to bring an organization nationally, so that way anybody who left a corporate company and didn't have a network would develop a network with us. And we have one of the most powerful networks, 8,000 members across the country. And remember, we only started with 8 guys.
That's great.
So those 8 people multiplied and multiplied and multiplied and multiplied across 15 chapters across the country. So that gives you the idea of the power that an organization like TechLatino has. If something happens in New York, you've got people in Los Angeles that are going to be talking about it at that time, 3 hours later. So that message is going through the whole country. And that's where you really show the kind of power that you can have. Listen, whoever owns the data rules the world. And it just happens to be that TechLatino helps.
That's great. Jose, what would you say yourself is one of the great advantages that you have as being a CEO of TechLatino?
You know, I've been very lucky. You know, I was at the right place at the right time. The first meeting that we had, it was I think I was working at Frontier Communications,
Okay.
and we were invited to talk about how do we bring technology to Africa. And my big mouth, as always, I had to get up and say, well, let's work on the South Bronx, not,
Okay.
you know, let's worry about the South Bronx, because if you guys are going to bring this to Africa, we need to get the South Bronx up and running.
Right.
Because I believe that here in the United States, at that time, the Hispanic and African American community was left to sink or swim. When it came to technology. If you had a computer, great. If you didn't have a computer, great. They didn't care.
Right.
So I made it my business, and what happened was by doing that, it grew my business by the milestones, because everybody was coming to me when it was time to, oh, I need to do a website. Oh, I need to do this. So there was only 5 of us at that time that were in the business as leadership, right? Felipe Alvarez, Chris Rodriguez, David Contreras, Carlos Rodriguez, and myself.
That's great.
And that's all across the country. So what we've seen happen, and what happened with me, was that I was able to get into an industry where half of the people that I grew up with didn't know what the heck we were doing. And when I told them I was an engineer and all that, they would say, what the heck is an engineer? What are you doing? That's a job for other people. Mm-hmm. But it's not a job for other people. It's a job for everybody. That's the way economic empowerment goes. If you have an opportunity to get into something that has not been done before, get it. Go get it. It's the thing you need to do.
That's good. And what would you say, what was your experience with that first meeting there, just starting up, TechLatino? Mm-hmm. How did you feel? And, what were some of the...
It was crazy because we just, all of us were there. None of us knew each other. But when I stood up and I talked about, about the South Bronx, the youngest COO of Verizon, Felipe Alvarez, was listening to me. Chris Rodriguez, who was the top dealer for Dell, was listening to me. And they were listening to what I was talking about, the Hispanic community, and they all came to me. And now all these guys are like big deals. I'm just like a simple engineer, implementation. But my man said, you've got a great idea there. I said, what's that? Well, we need to put an organization just to help the Hispanic community catch up on technology. And I said, well, let's do it. But I didn't think I was going to be here 22 years later doing this. But guess what? I've been blessed. I've met some of the greatest people in the world. And it's all been through this organization. I've sat down with Barbara Bush. I've sat down with, President Obama. I've sat down with so many great people that, I sat down with my baseball idol, Willie Mays and Hank Aaron. I mean, this is going back 22 years. So seeing all these guys and all these people that have helped me form myself.
Right.
And, I've taken a little bit of this guy and a little bit of that guy, and I've become who I am now.
So over the course of 22 years, you've met with a lot of other, great individuals that have a lot of leaderships, great leaders. Mm-hmm. You're a great leader as well here in, just in Atlanta. You're covering all of the East Coast. You sit here and you have a lot of advantages. It's not only good for you, but you had a vision that also sit here and applies to others, individuals here in the United States of America. What would you say that, part of your leadership and your vision and the people that you have came across, how are you delivering these messages to the young Latino culture, to the young African American cultures? They may not know, like you said, what engineers is, but how are you getting them to understand that, hey, technology, TechLatino has this opportunity to help you grow and become this great young individual?
Well, the great thing about it is a lot of the young people that we're talking to now know more about the technology that's happening now than we do.
Right.
And we need to listen to them to find out what they need. We have years of experience. We have some skills that they don't have, because remember, before us, before 1997, there was no
Computers.
internet. No, the computers were there. There was no internet. There was only what they call an intranet, not
Right.
an internet. So what happened is that we were able to be in places that couldn't have been. So we've got certain skills that are better than the younger guys. But guess what? That young generation, that next generation is the most important one, because they're the ones who are going to be taking over. So we need to give them the skill sets, whether it's soft skills or, computer skills or whatever. They need to have the skills that we have of interpersonal relationships that a lot of people don't have. And that's the biggest thing that we bring to the table now.
What is the future looking like for tech and the Latino community?
I think that the future is bright. The Hispanic community alone is over-indexing by 75% when it comes to technology. Before, we had to buy a computer and we had to have internet at home. Now everybody's on their phone and they've got more power in their little hands than we had 10 years ago. So, I think the future is going to be bright. We're very lucky that we've had people in our organization, AT&T and MPAA and Verizon and Comcast, and some of the other companies like Univision and Telemundo, who have been right here fighting this fight, making sure that we didn't leave anybody behind. And that's always been appreciated. But it's because of them that we are here today, and the future. Look, we have nowhere else but to go but up. And as long as they want to feel, if they love technology, because you remember, technology is not something that's not necessary. It's necessary.
Right. Nowadays, everyone's using technology.
And if you're not there yet, listen, you got plenty of time. You call us up at 770-765-3478. That's 770-765-3478. So that way you guys can come and get some training, because that's what we all need.
I want to thank you so much for, taking the time out of your busy schedule today and giving us the opportunity to sit down with you.
Well, thanks a lot for having me. I think I'll tell you something. You're a phenomenal talent, and I'm so happy that ABJ has you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here. This is Naomi Perez with Atlanta Business Journal signing off.